Listeners, NerdWallet wants you to let them do the work for you. Looking for auto insurance? The Nerds will match you with top providers in your area in just a few questions. So getting the right rate for you is as simple as going to nerdwallet.com. After all, letting NerdWallet do the work is more than smart. It's genius. Not all applicants will qualify for the lowest monthly payments. NerdWallet Insurance Services Incorporated. California resident license number OK92033. The Rachel Hollis Podcast is proudly sponsored by Amica Insurance. As Amica says, empathy is our best policy. That's why they'll go above and beyond to tailor your insurance coverage to best fit your needs. Whether you're on the road, at home, or traveling along life's journey, their friendly and knowledgeable representatives will work with you to ensure that you have the right coverage in place. Amica will provide you with peace of mind. Go to amica.com to get a quote today. If you sat down every time that you got to work, and I understand we don't all get an entire day to work on our dreams, maybe you only have an hour. But if you say, I have got 60 minutes, what is one result that I could have at the end of this hour that will really impact what I'm trying to do? If you did that every time you sat down to work on your goal, you would not believe the traction you will make this quarter. You would not believe it if you just did that one thing. What is one thing that you can do in this work session that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. And I have a favor, which sounds kind of harsh if we just met, but I'm assuming that most of you have been a part of this community for a hot minute. And so I gotta ask, are you subscribed to the podcast? Subscribing to the podcast you listen to regularly is one of the best things that you can do for hosts like me. It helps to support the show and the staff that works on it. It ensures that you never miss an episode when we drop a new one. And here's the cool thing about subscribing. If you do it and then you hate this show, just unsubscribe. It's one click away. In the meantime, if you're listening, we would so appreciate it if you would just tap that button and make it official. Hi guys, it's Rach. Welcome to another episode of the show and a conversation about productivity and organization. Talk dirty to me. I freaking love a productivity hack. And so I'm just going to try and give you as many as I possibly can today, whether you are running a business, trying to move up in your career, you're a stay-at-home parent, you're a college kid, you're doing whatever. I've got some ideas. I've got some advice. I hope you will find them helpful. But first, I really want to tell you, because you're my friend, how excited I am about what is happening tomorrow. I'm going to see Paddington 3. Okay, if this is your first time hanging out on the show, you're like, wait, I thought this chick gives us advice. Why is she talking about Paddington? Yes, Sandra, I do give you advice, but every once in a while, I got to tell you when something just joyful happens, and tomorrow is that day. Noah Hollis is about to turn 8 years old. We are taking her skiing for her birthday weekend because we are bougie and ridiculous, and our family loves to ski. So that's what we're doing. But we're going to see Paddington tomorrow, and I hope you can hear the smile in my voice. This sounds like an ad. Girl, no one's trying to tell me nobody's paying me. No. Have you guys seen the Paddington movies? Have I talked to you about this? They've got to be some of the best movies ever made. I swear to you, I'm going to give you organization advice. If you don't want to hear about Paddington for the next 3 minutes, go ahead and just tap forward a couple times. But, oh my gosh, the first Paddington is great. The second Paddington, it's one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. Have you seen the movie where Paddington goes to prison and then makes friends with all of the prisoners? and then takes over the cafeteria, and then they escape in a hot air balloon that they make out of tablecloths. You guys, it's so charming. Anyway, all of that to say, our entire family loves Paddington, even the teenagers, and we have been waiting for the third one to come out in the US because it did come out in the UK like Christmas time. Came out in the US, I don't know, like a couple weeks ago, and we're going to see it for Noah's birthday. So it's been a long and busy week, and that movie date tomorrow afternoon is my last thing before we go on a ski trip. So I'm hashtag blessed. I'm hashtag Paddington blessed. And this is my PSA. If you need some joy and you have not watched those movies, I double dog dare you. I quadruple dog dare you to watch Paddington and not smile and feel joy and light. And that's neither here nor there, but you're welcome. Okay, let's talk about organization. I promise it's real. I'm into it. I have been trying to get organized and efficient since I was an 18-year-old living in a crappy apartment by myself in Burbank with like my very first desk was I went to Target and I bought one of those folding tables, but the kind that are super thin and super rickety. It was probably like $22, which felt like a bag of gold to me back then because I was so broke. But I really wanted a desk. So I had this little rickety thing set up in the corner of my bedroom, and I would sit at the desk and I would try and like dream of having a business someday or writing a book. So I had a lot of hopes and dreams. And that was the first time I remember actively trying to figure out how to get more done with the time that I had. I had a full-time job, so my hopes and dreams needed to fit into the hours that I wasn't working for someone else. And when your hours are limited, for whatever reason, you need to make the most of the time you've got. So I feel like I've gotten really good at learning to be super productive with a lot of moving things in my life over the last 2 decades. And I have written 10 books and I've done over 800 episodes of this podcast, and I've thrown massive conferences and spoken on stages all over the world. I've traveled a ton. I've raised 4 kids, which so far, knock wood, are super awesome. All of that to say, I feel like I got some ideas about how you might be able to make life feel a bit better, to make yourself feel more organized, and to get more done with the time that you've got. So let's jump on in. When I was laying out the list for this episode, I started with just writing down a bunch of different ideas I thought would be helpful. And then I remembered this keynote I used to give at business conferences. If any of you ever went to Rise Business Conference, you might remember me giving this keynote that I still think is just an exceptional idea for a book, which was called Business Bean Dip. I mean, if that's not my trashy take on business, I don't know what is. But it was called Business Bean Dip because when I was looking at all of the parts and pieces of my business and laying them out to get ready for that conference, I realized that they stacked on top of each other sort of foundationally. And it made me think of bean dip. Did y'all grow up eating bean dip? You know, like old school kind, where it's like there's a layer of refried beans on the bottom, and then there's like cheese and sour cream and black olives and tomatoes. God, bean dip was delicious. Oh, wonder if my kids would eat it. Oh, so good. Okay, now my mouth is watering. That's not the point. I want you to imagine the things I'm saying today as a similar structure. You can think of it as a layered dessert. You want to think of banana pudding with a layer of pudding and a layer of Nilla wafers and some Cool Whip. I don't know. I'm hungry, I think. I don't know why everything's food right now. But basically, these are foundational. I really think that you need to approach things in a way that is structured solidly, or you will not still be doing it this time next month. So instead of just telling you a bunch of ideas and tactics that you can throw at the wall and see what sticks, this is more of like, let's build the foundation for you to be a more productive person. So if we're going to start with a good foundation, the first place that I'd love for you to consider in your productivity bean dip, that's a terrible name, is let's get rid of some stuff. Let's embrace the fact that we are going into spring and do some spring cleaning. Let's spring clean your space. Let's spring clean your mind. Now, don't roll your eyes at me, and don't think that this has nothing to do with you being more productive, because this has everything to do with you being more productive. Before you can get organized, you got to clear away the clutter, literally and mentally. And just to make this super woo-woo, I think that all of the items in your house, in your car, on your desk right now, they all have an energetic signature that is affecting your ability to do the work that you want to do. If your desk is absolutely cluttered in chaos, unless you are living with ADHD, in which case, shout out, you keep doing you. I know that you know where every single thing on that desk is located, and if I came in and organized it for you, it would actually make your life way harder. Keep on trucking. But removing that piece, if you are trying to accomplish, whether it's like writing your book or getting the kids out the door in the morning without it feeling super stressful, if you're trying to take on a health journey, if you're trying to do any of these things that are already challenging and you're doing it inside of an environment that is just absolute chaos, it's messy, it's cluttered, there's a bunch of crap you don't need, there's a bunch of stuff you don't use, you are going to feel so much better, so much more accomplished, so much more confident if you just go through and get rid of things. And it can feel a bit like you're going backwards to go forwards. But if you do this piece, then you don't have to constantly battle all of this chaos in your world. So tackle your physical space first. And if that sounds overwhelming to you, choose one room, especially if that is the room that you need to be productive in. So if this is your desk, if this is your office, if you're a salesperson, you're in your car all day, maybe this is your car. If you're a parent and so much goes down in your kitchen and your kitchen's a disaster, but if it was more organized, you'd be better able to be organized and productive in the space. Tackle that space first. So here's just some quick ideas for how you can get rid of things. And if you need some encouragement, go watch some of those videos. There's like TikToks and Instagram and YouTube shorts of people that just go clean out the houses of hoarders. First of all, those videos are so satisfying because at the end, like you can't even believe how good they look. But also you're like, yeah, look at us as humans acquiring a bunch of crap we do not need. Find the courage to get rid of some things. Here's just a few quick ideas. If you have not used it in a year, get rid of it. If you have not used that thing in a year, get rid of it. If you feel stressed about the idea of getting rid of it, because you're like, oh, but I know I never wear this leather jacket, but it's such a nice leather jacket. I used to love it back in the day, and I always think like maybe I'll wear it again. I know I haven't worn it in a decade, but this is my favorite thing to do with clothes or jewelry or smaller items like that I keep holding on to when I know I shouldn't. Get a duffel bag or a suitcase you never use or a box and have it be the land that time forgot. So anytime you see something in your closet or in your house that you are like, I really should get rid of this thing. I'm never going to wear those shoes. I don't wear high heels. Why do I have them? Whenever you have those thoughts, take the item and put it into the box, the duffel, the bag, out of sight, out of mind. You don't want to be able to see it. I have a duffel bag in my closet that I have at the very highest point in the closet. So it doesn't even come into my frame of mind. And anytime I see an item like this, I put it in the duffel. And every once in a while, like 6 months, 9 months later, I'll be like, oh, I should probably check the duffel. I just did this. I open it up and I'm like, oh, I remember this shirt. Oh, this is so cute. And I like, but if I did not remember that thing existed until I looked in the duffel, I forced myself to donate it. You can also do the Marie Kondo method. You could hold the thing and ask yourself, does it spark joy? If it doesn't spark joy, can you donate it? Can you sell it? Can you give it to someone who would appreciate it? You could also set a timer, do like a 10-minute purge where you just go through and like pull stuff off the shelf. I swear there's a certain time in my cycle where I just want to get rid of things, and the 10-minute purge feels so good. A decluttered space will help you to feel less cluttered in your mind, especially if you're someone like me who you're counting all the things that you want to do in your personal life or that you want to do in your home on the same running tally list that you're calculating the things you want to do in your career. So they're all part of me. So I'm thinking about all of them. But if I can get one area of my life organized, it frees up space in the rest of my mind that just allows me to feel so much calmer. We're going to begin with a good foundation, do some spring cleaning, get rid of things that you don't need. But perhaps you're listening, you're like, oh, I'm a minimalist. I have 2 shirts, 1 pair of pants, and I live in a box by the river, and it's beautiful. I've got a waterfront view. We're very happy. Fantastic. You don't need that tip, but you might need this one. Look, everyone knows that toilet paper is not created equal. Not all rolls are the same. Some are too soft. Some, can we say, sort of crumble, if you know what I'm saying? Then other toilet paper is so strong that it can actually hurt. And let's not even talk about the toilet paper that is so thin, it doesn't get the job done. Angel Soft is soft and strong and always affordable. Come on, life is too short. There's too much going on. I don't want to have to overthink this. So pick up a pack of Angel Soft in the toilet paper aisle of your nearest retailer. That's Angel Soft, soft and strong. Simple. It's 2025, guys. And if you are busy, you're working, you're trying to make great choices for your life, your health, your family, you've got to start using Thrive Market. Thrive Market's products are 100% non-GMO and free from over 1,000 harmful ingredients. So when you're shopping on Thrive, you know that anything you find is going to be good for you and your family. Plus, you can scan a product you're used to buying, something that's in your pantry right now, and the Healthy Swap scanner will instantly recommend cleaner, healthier alternatives. The best part about Thrive, I think, is that you put things on a subscription. So when the pantry starts getting low, all of a sudden in the mail is everything you need to restock for school lunches and after school snacks. It is the best. Ready for a junk-free start to 2025? Head to thrivemarket.com/rach and you get 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/rach. thrivemarket.com/rach. Brain dump. If you look at a bunch of different systems or read books, whether it's like a bullet journaling list or the Get It Done method, this methodology will come up again and again. They might call it by different names, but the brain dump shows up in a lot of people's processes for being more productive. And that might sound crazy because you're like, wait, if I make a massive list of all the stuff that's in my head, won't that confuse me more? No, because in the same way that you're trying to get rid of the clutter in your closet, you're trying to get rid of the clutter that's taking up space in your mind. Carrying that mental clutter around is super overwhelming, and you may not even realize how hard your brain is working every single day to try and keep track of all the stuff that you're doing. So the brain dump method is exactly what it sounds like. Grab a notebook, grab a journal. You could use the app on your phone, but I always believe that something really good happens when we're thinking through things and we're physically writing them down. That modality has always been very helpful for me to process everything. And as much as the brain dump is usually about all the things that you want to accomplish or do, I think that those can have emotional components as well. So I just think the process of putting in a journal is really helpful. When you're doing a brain dump, you want to be mindful. Do not try and filter it. Don't put it into a list. Don't put it into categories. The whole point is that you are dumping it all out on the paper. Once it's all on the paper, I want you to think of 3D. So you're going to look at this list of all the stuff. Here's what I want to do. Here's where I want to go. Here's what I need to buy. Here's my grocery list. This is what mama said. I got to call that person. I need a nail appointment. I've got my exam due next week, like all the stuff. And once you've got this massive list, I want you to go through and circle anything that you can delegate. What on this list can you give to someone else? Now, I know not everybody has a personal assistant or a staff of people who can take on their job, but certainly there are things, for instance, let's say you're a mama and you have 3 kids aged 10, 12, and 16. And you look at this list and there's a bunch of stuff on it that is about the house. And if you're being really honest with yourself, you know what? You haven't been really great at making sure that the kids are working with you to create a nice environment as a family. Maybe you've been taking on too much. Maybe you've been doing too many things. So maybe you can circle some of the items on the list that the kids could help you do. Or maybe you have a partner that you could be really clear with, like, hey, I would be so grateful if you could take on this, this, and this, because I'm trying to get more organized. You would be shocked at how helpful people will be if you actually just ask for help. If you want a little tip or idea for this, I started several months ago doing a monthly chore chart. This was so awesome because I used to do daily, or it would be the weekend, and I'd make a list and say, hey guys, can you help me with these things? But my teenager told me once that he really hated that he never knew what he was supposed to help with. And he didn't mean that in a sweet way. He wasn't like, please tell me how I can help, mother. He was like, I don't like when I've like gone to school all day and I went to baseball practice for 2 hours and I get home and I'm exhausted and I'm so excited that I finally get to chill. And then you ask me to take the trash out. Now, I grew up in an environment, side note, where my parents would have been like, they would have had a word or two with me about who I thought I was and how dare I disrespect them by not wanting to take the trash out. They would have made it this whole thing, and they would have made it about them and their ego. But he said it to me in a way that was super respectful. He was just like, this is very frustrating to me. And I was like, okay, cool. Because he wasn't saying that he didn't want to help. He was just asking for a different structure for that help to show up inside of. So I started this monthly chore chart where there's really only 3 things that I consistently want help from the kids with. There's doing the dishes, taking out the trash, and doing dog duty things. So now I have a chore chart that has the day of the week, the activity, which is dishes, trash, or Jeffrey, and then a different kid's initial on the day of the week. They end up getting essentially 2 nights a week where they're helping with something, and it stays the same for the entire month. So nobody's asking me what they need to do, and nobody's saying that they didn't know they needed to do it. They are just showing up, and it is in such a way that as soon as Sawyer saw it, he was like, oh, cool. It doesn't mean that he's pumped about doing the dishes. He's still like, oh, God. All of them are like, oh, it's my night for dishes. I'm like, yeah, fool, but you didn't make dinner, so you're welcome. However you want to structure it, but go through that list and see whether it's stuff at your job, or maybe you could ask your lab partner. I don't know, I'm making this up. Maybe your lab partner could take notes this week for the exam, and then you'll do it next week for the exam, and you guys could trade. But see what, if anything, on that list can be delegated. Go through one time and circle anything that can be delegated, and then go through it again and say, if Rachel was going through this list and looking for things to delegate, what would she circle because she doesn't have all my stories or my emotional context and she's not worried about someone being upset with her? What are the things that she would delegate that I'm not doing because I'm trying not to upset anybody? And then circle those two. Okay, so that was the first D. You're going to delegate. The second D is, what can you delete? I hope y'all read the new book. It is more popular on audiobook than it is in physical book. So if you like the sound of my voice, go grab it on Audible today. But there is an entire chapter based on this idea of deleting things from our life. There's an entire chapter that asks, what must you let go of? And I'll tell you what, if you want to be more productive in any area, you are going to have to say no to some things. So go through that list right now and delete anything. Cross it out. We circled what we could delegate. Now I want you to put a line through anything you should not be doing. You have got to protect your productivity at all costs. And that means saying no to anything that does not align with who you are becoming. So what can you remove? What can you let go of? What can you say no to? Saying no is a skill that you can acquire. So if you're not very good at this task, don't worry. Just start trying to say no and you will get stronger at it over time. We're going to delegate, we're going to delete, and then the last items in that list are obviously the stuff we're going to do. What are the key things that you must take action on to get closer to the kind of life you want to live, to the kind of person you want to be? Editing that brain dump is a game changer, because most people are constantly swimming in a sea of all the things they would like to do. They're not taking any time to ask whether or not that will actually help them, whether or not they should be doing it, whether or not someone else can do it for them. Oh, here's a great quote. You should never do anything that someone else can do for you. Let me say it again for the people in the back. You should never do anything that someone else could do for you. Now, hold on, because someone's just like, someone else could tuck in little Johnny, but I want to tuck in little Johnny. Obviously, that's not something else someone can do for you because they can't do it as you. If there are things in your life that you really love and align with who you are and who you are becoming, obviously don't delegate that thing. But there's a lot of stuff guaranteed that you are currently doing that someone else can do for you. Someone else might even be able to do it better so that you can focus on the things that you are best at. For instance, when I got my first babysitter back in the day, I had a nanny in our neighborhood who worked for another family, and she would come and be a babysitter, like mother's helper, when my boys were young. And I had this certain amount of time where I worked from home. And so I had a certain amount of time where she would be there and I would be like, okay, I only have a few hours, so I'm just going to knock everything out. And then as they got older, I was able to afford more childcare. I was able to have someone come more hours. And I remember that I got into this bad habit because obviously I'd never had kids before and I'd never had a nanny before. And so I found myself where the situation was kind of like upside down. So I would get home from work and use the time that she was there to clean up the house, to put laundry in, to do the dishes. Like I would get everything in order before she would leave for the day so that I could have it done before I didn't have help anymore. And at one point I was like, wait a minute. No. I want to come home from work and play with my kid. So she was like playing with the boys while I was doing work around the house. And one day I was like, hey, could we switch? And she was like, oh my gosh, of course. Like, I don't care. And it was such an aha moment for me. Like, wait a minute. Yes, let me get the kind of help that makes the most sense for me so that I can do the parts of this I really love. I love finding ways to commemorate really important experiences in my life. Usually, if you look at my wrist, you will see it stacked with bracelets that do just that. And if you want to celebrate your unique story, check out Pandora Jewelry. They're crafted with meaning and exquisite artistry, from sparkling lab-grown diamonds to vibrant enamels, personalized engravings, and their iconic charms. Pandora offers endless ways to express what's in your heart. Every day is a chance to be love. Let Pandora Jewelry remind you that love starts with you. Shop in-store or online at pandora.net. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. For most of my life, I have learned and grown and gotten ideas from mentors. Mentors who don't know I exist. They're the mentors that I found in the pages of books, in podcasts just like this one that you're listening to. And even though they didn't know me, their advice was really helpful until I got to the place in my life where I could have a real life mentor. In therapy, I could sit with someone each week and better understand myself and get tools that would help me make lasting change. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, and they serve over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Plus, you can easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/rach to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rach. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is the results list. Yes, I know. I have been talking about a results list since 2019. I know, it's been 6 years of talking about creating a results list instead of a to-do list. But if anything, that just proves that this works. It at least works for me. It is a huge reason why I am able to accomplish so much with the time that I have, because I am focused on the results that I want, not the to-do list. Allow me to explain the difference. This was something I wrote about in Girl Stop Apologizing. That whole book is like how to achieve a goal and like believe in yourself and your ambitions and whatever. And so I really wanted to get granular in one of the chapters and explain, like, here is how I break out a goal. But the big, Oprah would call it the aha moment, the big like, oh, light bulb for me was, gosh, I don't even know, a decade ago, when I realized that, kind of similar to young me with my fold out Target table in the corner, I was really making up how to be an entrepreneur as I went along. I mean, we all are. But starting a business now with all of the information that exists, with so many mentors and leaders on social media telling you exactly how they did it, is so incredible and is not something we had 20 years ago. If you wanted to learn about entrepreneurs, you went to the library and read the biography of Henry Ford, okay? There was no information about day-to-day how you accomplish tasks. So I did what I thought made a ton of sense, which was making a to-do list. Here's all of the things that I need to do today or this week or this month in my business. The problem with the to-do list is that it's infinite. Bro, if you and I sat down and we were like, let's think of everything we want to do this week, that list is, I don't know, 50 pages long. Like, it would never end. And there's no seniority to the items on that list. You're just putting everything down in no particular order. And not only that, but human nature is such that we get a little hit of dopamine when we cross items off our to-do list. So don't lie. Have you ever put something on your to-do list that you've already done just so you could cross it off? I definitely have. That is not an efficient way to accomplish things. So years ago, I heard this idea of just making a list of the results that you want, not the to-do that you thought of. For example, let's say you're looking for a new job and you're making your list and you're like, oh, okay, I should look at my resume and I should check out LinkedIn and I probably I should apply, I should do. That's a to-do list. That's a bunch of items. There's not really any structure there. A results list is send my resume to 15 jobs today. That's a result. At the end of this day, come hell or high water, I will have sent 15 people my resume in the hopes that I'm going to find a job, right? Now, along that path, you might have to clean up your resume, right? You maybe need to take a minute and clean up your resume. And maybe you have to find 15 people that you can email. And those two items, those might take you hours. But your result is that you've sent the resume to 15 people. It's why a result is so much more of a needle mover. Like think of a speedometer on a car. And when the needle's kind of low, you're only going 10 miles an hour. When you put your foot on the gas, that needle goes higher, the car goes faster. Results make the car go faster. The beauty of a results list is focusing on the things that will actually get you the results that are going to get you closer to your goal. And my favorite way to look at this is 3 major moves. 3 major moves. So instead of sitting down in the morning and saying, I'm going to do these 22 things, if you could only accomplish 3 things today, but those 3 things were big, and at the end of the day, you'd be like, dang, I got way closer to where I want to go by doing these things. That's all you should be prioritizing. Using the analogy of applying for a new job as a great example, yeah, you had to spend 2 hours brushing up your resume. And yes, you had to spend 2 more hours finding 15 different people in HR at 15 different companies that you want to apply for. Yes, those things took a really long time. But the super cool thing about big results, big needle movers, is that they have this ripple effect. So you spend a ton of time improving your resume, getting it ready to go. But now that you've finished up your resume, it'll get way faster for you to send it to a lot more people because you spent time on the front end doing what you needed to do. So sit down in the morning and just say, what are 3 major moves that I could do today? What are 3 results that will get me way closer to my goal? If you sat down every time that you got to work, and I understand we don't all get an entire day to work on our dreams. Maybe you only have an hour. But if you say, I have got 60 minutes, what is one result that I could have at the end of this hour that will really impact what I'm trying to do? If you did that every time you sat down to work on your goal, you would not believe the traction you will make this quarter. You would not believe it if you just did that one thing. What is one thing that you can do in this work session that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? Next item, said it before, say it again. Batch your work. Batch your work, batch your work, batch your work. Multitasking, it's been proven again and again, multitasking kills productivity. It is so hard for your brain to switch from one activity, one thought to another. And think of how many directions you are being pulled in all day. The phone rings, an email, the dog's barking, you need to do this, you're writing this, someone asks you a question. It is so hard for our brains to do that, even if you're really good at it. The mental wear and the energy it takes for your brain to switch really quickly is awful. And let's go back to my friends with ADHD. If you've got that, let's just sign off for the day. Switching, like it's so impossible. So let's talk about batch work. Batching my work is how I organize my schedule, my life, whether that's personal, professional, into like-minded activities. So I do all the same kinds of things on the same days. I am recording this podcast for you on a podcast recording day. And let me actually blow your mind. I'm going to blow your mind. I told someone this the other day. Someone had me come in and talk to their mastermind group, and another woman in the group was a podcaster, and she said, can you explain to me how on earth you are producing as much podcast content as you have, and you have the social and whatever. And I was like, girl, I have tested everything. I've tested every way that I can think of to make this easier. So when I tell you guys this hack right now, this is a batching hack. It may or may not blow your ever-loving mind. I record all of my podcasts now, which are audio-based, on the same day. And I'm recording this for you. I do look really cute right now. I'm not going to lie. I look really cute. I got some new boots. I love them. I am recording this without video running. I used to record all of my podcasts, audio and video, at the same time. And I don't know about y'all, but if you're any kind of content creator, if you have to do anything on video, it is so much harder to do than to just write a book or just record this for you. I feel like the things I say are more intelligent. They are more thought out. I just feel like it's a better podcast for you when I am not on video. And I have tested this for years and years. So this is my current theory, and it's working really well. I record all of my podcasts, which are audio based, on the same day. And the cool thing about that is, at least for me, I know I'm talking about podcasting, but I feel like you can all find your version of this. The cool thing for me is that I could do this in sweats if I want to. I don't. I work by myself in a studio in my backyard, and I still dress up and look cute every single day because it's really important for me to feel like a human. But I could record this in sweats and it would be fine. That's one day. That's one kind of batch work. And I get into a flow state because I'm doing the same things. I can record all of my podcast episodes in a single work day. Tomorrow, I'm going to come in, I'm going to look super cute, and I'm going to record on camera things. I'm going to record me doing the podcast on camera. And that might sound crazy, but this podcast you and I are hanging out on is going to be, let's say, 45 minutes. I will record 20 minutes of this podcast on video. We will use that video and turn it into social. Because I've tested this too, and in order to remind people you have a podcast that exists, you got to have some social. But it is so hard for my brain to do both. But if I tell my brain, this is an on-camera day, and you're going to knock out a bunch of on-camera stuff, I'm like, all right, let's get in and get her done. Now, back when I was editing a book, I would have days that were just for writing or just for editing. If I have a bunch of meetings I need to take, guess what? Meetings, different kind of brain. So I'm going to do those all on the same day. I batch my work. The other, let's just get a little bit more OCD in this. You guys have maybe heard me talk about the fact that I color code my calendar. I use a Google Calendar, and every single meeting, appointment, shoot, audio recording, they're all in my calendar and they're all different colors. So at a glance, I can see, like, tomorrow is a periwinkle blue, and I know that periwinkle blue means on camera. Look up any research about flow state, about what happens to your mind when you get into a process of working on literally anything. You're not disturbed, you're super focused, you're super homed in. The productivity, it's like something crazy, like 4x. Like you can accomplish 4 times as much in the same amount of time if you just get into flow state. And one of the easiest ways to get into flow state is to just be doing the same thing, focus on the same outcome, doing the same work instead of switching back and forth. So if at all possible, batch your work. This is especially critical if you're managing other people's schedules. Like you have kids, you have team members, you have clients where you're trying to manage things for them. If you can batch the flow, it's going to be such a game changer. You have to try it. The last thing I'm going to say on this is if you have anybody who works with you, if you have a partner, this is a really helpful thing to communicate to them. So communicate your schedule. My husband knows if it's an on-camera shooting day. And he knows that because those tend to be the days that I walk in the house and I'm the most exhausted. It's just really helpful for them to know, especially since I work from home. So if it's an on-camera shooting day and I'm in flow and one of the kids runs out here, it's not the end of the world. Like nothing's going to happen, but it does throw me off and it'll take me a minute to get back in it. So we have just like a rule in our house that if the drapes are closed to my studio, it means I'm recording. And I have to pee like every 5 minutes. So I'm constantly going in the house. So if the kids are here, they know they're going to see me. But I just taught them like, hey, if the drapes are closed, it means I'm batch recording. Don't come out there. I promise I'll be in within an hour and you can tell me all about your day then. So communicate that schedule. Again, this is like delegating or asking for help. Next thing, protect your energy. Protect your energy and your ability to focus. I think we've all experienced those days where you are organized, you're very excited to work on the project, and somehow you still end up being very unproductive because you are constantly distracted. As much as you can, limit those distractions. I'm recording this for you right now. I have do not disturb on everything, so I won't get notifications about email or text messages. I'm trying to limit as much extra input as I can so I can just be focused and present on this with you. We already talked about the idea of batch working, time blocking, so you can set those intentional chunks to do the deep work versus I'm going to answer 15 emails. I'll usually do emails at the very end of my day because that's like, it doesn't require a lot of brain power, but it is the worst thing for my productivity if I have to go answer an email about something the accountant should do when I'm trying to be a creative. So protect your energy and focus. This is kind of going back to the idea of communicating that schedule, but set your boundaries and hold them in place. Learn to say no to things that do not align with your goals, with who you are becoming, with what you're hoping for your family or your relationship. If these things don't make sense, don't do them. Remember, energy management is just as important as time management. Last thing I'm going to say on getting organized, being productive. I know this one's annoying, but you got to plan ahead. If you are someone who is just trying to learn to be organized, please take some solace in the fact that this is a learned skill. Nobody comes out into the doctor's hands when they are born and the doctor slaps their bum and proclaims, oh, it's an organized person. That's not a thing. Those of us who are organized, those of us who are productive, we've learned how to do that. We have learned these skills and you can too. But a big part of all of this is that you have to plan ahead. If you're waiting until you're in the work hour to know what you're going to work on, you will lose half of your work time trying to figure out what to work on. So like if you have a limited amount of time to work on the thing, you better know, man, when I sit down at that desk, I'm trying to get this, this, and this done. Versus, oh, should I do that? Should I do this? All of a sudden you're checking the emails, you're researching something, you're updating your LinkedIn. Girl, no. That is how we write the same book for 6 years and we only have 8,000 words because we just keep sitting down and rewriting the first chapter. Plan ahead. So every Sunday or whatever day works best for you, sit down and figure out what worked and didn't work from last week. Plan your 3 big wins for the coming week. What are those major moves that you would like to accomplish this week? Check your calendar for, do you have doctor's appointments for the kids? Do you need to prep ahead? Do you need to go to the grocery store? When are you getting your workouts in? Is there any special outfit that you need to plan for this week? Plan ahead. Pick one day a week. It doesn't have to be your Sunday. It can be any day. But know what you need to do in the next 7 days before you get into the next 7 days. This is going to prevent you, as much as possible, from getting into these moments where it all just feels like chaos and you're like, well, I can't do anything. No one is 100% organized at all times, but there are things we can do, skills we can learn, and practices that we can live out that will really help. I want to shout out anyone who is still hanging out with me. Some woman told me the other day, she's like, at the end of the podcast, when you say, like, if you're still here, she's like, I'm always still here. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I think her name was actually Rachel. So if I got that right, Rachel, hey girl, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, if you're still here, I hope you found that helpful and that you'll consider sharing it with someone you think would dig it too. I will be back soon with more conversation. We're here Monday through Friday, giving advice, giving all the ideas. Hope you'll come back and join in the fun. Until next time, as always, I love you guys, and I'm rooting for you. The Rachel Hollis Podcast is produced by me, Rachel Hollis. It's edited by Andrew Weller and Jack Noble. Don't miss Grand Slam deals going on now at Academy Sports and Outdoors from March 3rd to March 16th. If you are a sports mom like I am, this is the time of year to get the deals. Get up to 50% off bats, gloves, and training gear from brands like Rawlings, Easton, Wilson, Marucci, Louisville Slugger, and more. Need it fast? Choose same-day delivery powered by DoorDash. Order by 4 p.m., get it by 8 p.m. Shop your local Academy store or academy.com.
Where'd you get those shoes? DSW has all the shoes you need for whatever you're into. You know, like running shoes that give new meaning to personal best. Or everyday sneakers that make coffee runs look cool. Basically, DSW has all the best styles from the brands that always get it right. Like Nike, Brooks, Timberland, and more. Oh yeah, did we mention they also happen to be the perfect price? Find a shoe for every you at your DSW store and DSW.com.